Anja, what do you see, this is a broad question I know, but what do you see as the biggest challenges to the future of trade?
I'm sorry, I guess we've depressed you all with a negative attitude. The biggest challenges we face right now are, of course, NAFTA and China. We've talked a little bit about China already. Let me tell one story about NAFTA. On 9/11/2001, when we had a terrorist attack on the United States, we had to, for security reasons, shut our borders. Within 3 days, no one in America could make a car. The supply chains are just completely intertwined, as John and Fred have already talked about. And China, I'll give you one example just right here from Seattle. Boeing sells more than a quarter of its commercial planes to that one country alone, just to China. So if that market is closed to us, that's tens of thousands of American jobs lost just from that one company and its suppliers. So these are two relationships that we absolutely have to get right.
My question is for Anja. Given your history working with Asia, where do you see growth opportunities for companies like us in the Asian markets?
Oh, that's a really good question. Thank you. So, you know, we're talking a lot about China being the bad guy. Actually, Asia is the biggest growth opportunity for our industry. Their economies are growing at 7–8% a year. By 2030, which is only 11 years away, 40% of the world's middle class is going to live in China and India versus 20% of the world's middle class in the US and Europe combined. So those are the markets of the future. And we're only going to thrive if we're able to sell into those markets, and vice versa, they'll be able to sell to us. So it's an enormous market opportunity for Genie, for Terex, and for so many companies around the country. All of us need to make sure we have a rational conversation about trade. I think it's really been hijacked. Yeah. And I think on the one side, people are saying, you're struggling, it's the fault of Mexico and Canada and China and all these unfair trade deals. That's not true. It's also not true that people aren't struggling. So I think what we need to request of our elected officials is to say, we're all in this together. It's one country. I don't care if you're Democrat and Republican or if you are doing something positive and it gives the other party a win. Let's just fix these problems because we all know what they are. And they're fixable, as both of you said. I mean, you could have a skilling initiative. You could have an infrastructure initiative that would put lots of people to work. We haven't seen very much about that. And you could have a tax reform that actually helps balance the budget rather than putting a big hole in the budget. And I blame both parties equally here because I live in San Francisco. We are the heart of the resistance. And what I basically hear from my friends is, if Trump's doing it, it's wrong. And that's not the fair way to do things either. So I hope, sanity will prevail, and I hope that in November we'll all elect centrist moderates.